who can win the crown. All the marbles involved, football, baseball, or golf. Who's dominating the hoops? Who's talking false or the truth? Yeah, come and show me your war face. I'll show you my war face. No holds barred, so for your sake, you better show up in good shape. Valuable information is key to your domination. So focus on preparation, online is your reputation. Yeah, it's one-on-one, you and me, ain't no fear in me, you will see. When it comes to this, you'll be wearing the number 23. In debate, I hold my weight, cause these sports I'm attached to it. Your legacy, get ready, cause I'm gonna set a match to it. Hey. Burn 'em, fire, 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 burn 'em. Fire, 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 burn 'em. Fire, 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 legacy on fire, 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 burn 'em. Fire, 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 legacy on fire, 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 burn 'em. Fire, 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 legacy on fire.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, for another episode of Legacy on Fire here on the Legacy Maker Sports Network and, of course, on Bowie Television. Look, we're excited to be here because, ladies and gentlemen, we are 1 week away. 1 week from the best time of the year. I know my three compadres will confer this with me in just a few minutes. We are 1 week away from the NFL draft, and this is the Legacy on Fire NFL Draft Special Edition, and we are very, very excited to have everybody with us. First, let me start off by introducing our guest, and of course, you know the guy right below me here. He's co-host of of Legacy on Fire, Mr. James Brown. How you doing today, James?
Doing good, man. 1 week away from draft day. Keeping the hope alive, man. A lot of NFL teams looking to make some things shake come next week. I, for one, cannot wait.
He's very, very excited. What will the Falcons do? We'll talk about that a little bit later, too. Just a little bit. Then, of course, one of our special guests, he's been on here quite a few times here recently, but he's become a big part of the Legacy on Fire family. He's from the Gametime Sports Network, Mr. Larry Patterson. Dude, with the blimp. What's up, brother?
What's going on, Legacy Makers? I'm glad to be here on the latest episode of Legacy on Fire, ready to talk some draft. It's about damn time it's here. So,
oh yeah. And last but not least, one of the original members of Legacy on Fire when we first got started, way back in, I think it was 2020 something. Back then, though, and giraffe guru and graphics legend, Mr. Cody Stewart. How you doing today, brother?
Man, I'm doing great. I feel like a kid the week before Christmas, right? Like you're just itching, you're ready to get out of school for that break and you're just ready for Christmas time to open up those presents. Come Thursday at 8:00 next week, it's time to open up those presents.
Present time. Look, we're all pumped because we all know what the draft signifies hope and dreams for your team, what the future will look like. We're going to find all that out. But with that being said, let's go ahead and get started. And usually with those good things, there's some sleepers in there. Let's go for one sentence. So we're going to start off our first one sentence with our offensive and defensive sleepers. You're like, bro, you starting off with the sleepers first? Yes, we're starting off. We need you to have your eyes open to some great players that may be hidden in this draft and that you may be smiling about if your team picks up in the later rounds. So we're going to start off with one sentence. James, I'll start with you. What's your one sentence? Your two sentences, technically. One for your offense and one for your defensive player. How do you got this thing going?
Okay, so for mine, offensively, I'm going to go with I got a road runner, and for defensively, I got a project pass rusher for you. Offensively, my sleeper is going to be Isaac Guerendo, the running back out of Louisville. He's going to be a senior coming out this year, but, man, he posted some great numbers up in Louisville this past season and years prior. Even at the combine, lit it up from an athletic perspective, ended up running a 4.33, blazing down the tracks up in Indianapolis. So, again, man, Isaac Guerendo, keep a listen out. Anywhere from the third round back, he's probably a shoo-in. Wouldn't be surprised if teams that need a running back, per se, maybe the Dallas Cowboys. I know the Giants will be looking to replace their running back, losing Saquon. He's a name that, you might recognize one day, but you heard it here first. Isaac Guerendo out of Louisville. On the defensive side of the ball, my project pass rusher is going to be Austin Booker, the edge rusher out of Kansas, standing at 6'6", about 240. Again, another one of those guys, long, wiry. He's got a little bit of the athletic profile that you're looking for in a defensive end, but he's a young, raw prospect. I think he's just finished up his redshirt sophomore season. So he's got 2 years of play at Kansas. So again, a guy who, you're going to have to get him in. You're going to have to develop him a little bit. But if you put that work in, you polish off, and you find that diamond, you're going to have yourself a good one.
I love it. I love it. So watch out for the running back from Louisville and the big man down there from Kansas. Now we swing over to Cody Stewart. Cody, who are your sleepers? What's your one sentence for offense and your defensive sleeper?
All right, so on offense, I'm going to say my one sentence for this guy is a mashed up Deebo Samuel and Puka Nacua. Now, I'm going to preface this with saying, is this guy really a sleeper? I mean, they probably have him projected going second round, so I know that that's kind of low-hanging fruit, you should say. But the reason that I bring this wide receiver up, it's Ricky Pearsall out of Florida, is because I think that he's going to go in the second round, but he's going to be better than probably a lot of the first round wide receivers taken. He's an excellent route runner. He ran a 4.4 140 at the combine, great burst off the line, can make some crazy catches in traffic. I just think he's going to be a great fit for whoever takes him. And defensively, my one sentence for this gentleman is a mammoth of a guy that can generate a huge push in the middle of an offensive line. And my guy is Jordan Jefferson, defensive tackle out of LSU. A lot of people projecting him to possibly go late third, early fourth. 6'4", 320 pounds, had 2.5 sacks and 7 tackles for loss last year for LSU. I think he's going to be a guy you put right in the middle of that defensive line, and he just wreaks havoc.
All right. There it is. The sleepers, the one sentence there. I like that. I can't wait to see the Deebo hybrid. I mean, the Deebo and Puka Nacua hybrid sounds intriguing. Larry, we head to you. Your one sentence on your defensive sleeper and your offensive sleeper.
Okay, so my one sentence for these two guys are physical projects. Now, these two guys could go late second, but I'm projecting them to go third. For one, on my offensive side, I got wide receiver Xavier Leggett from South Carolina, 6'1", 221. He's got elite athleticism. He's got good, really good, strong hands, above average route running. He only had one season of just really good product. Man, I'm blanking on my words, but he really had one good season of just production. 71 catches, over 1,200 yards, and 7 touchdowns. I feel like wherever he goes, depending on where he goes, he could be a future 1, maybe 2. But I think he's a real physical specimen. For my defensive sleeper, I'm going to go TJ Tampa out of Iowa State. He could go late second, early third, depends. 6'1", 189. He does lack top speed, but he is physical. He has good hands. Preferably, you want to put him in a zone coverage scheme. But I feel like those two will be good projects heading into the future, depending on where they go.
All right. So I like it. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and toss you real quick. I ain't going to get too deep into mine, but first, my offensive sleeper, all I'm going to say is all I do is catch no matter what, and that's Malik Washington from UVA. A little bit of a homer pick, but look, I got a chance to see this guy excel last year. He's 5'9", so you may look at height and say, oh, wait a minute, but that don't mean nothing. We see what Tariq Hill does all the time, but this man can catch the football, and this will be the second straight year that UVA's had a receiver come out that's done really good things. The Packers picked up Wicks in the 5th round, and he was nothing but gold for the Packers last year, and I think Washington can also be that guy for some team out there. He, especially in an offense that struggled last year. So just imagine you having the most receptions in the country on an offense that wasn't so hot at times and only won 3 games last year. So I look at that and I say Washington will give, I feel like may have something that Wicks had to an extent. Really just depends on where he goes. But if he goes to the right situation, he could be dynamic. Now, my defensive side, I got all I said, my one sentence would be, let the link fly. And what I mean by that, he's tall, he's lanky, 78 wingspan, but he's 6'4", and that's Kyrie Jackson from Oregon. Look, the guy's very quick. He's fluent. He's got long hands. I think that especially when you're looking at the big receivers in the league, you need somebody who can go out there and hem somebody up. And I think he can keep up with some of those guys in the league. I think he's going to be a steal a little bit later on in the draft. So those are my sleepers. There it is. Yeah, we're feeling it, fellas. The one sentence, feeling pretty good about it. But before I move on, is there anybody else y'all kind of want to throw out there before we move on? Just off the top of the brain.
I mean, speaking of length, defensively, Cam Hart out of Notre Dame, cornerback, 6'3", great size, great length, great speed. A lot of people are projecting him to go probably 4th round. I think that's a guy who, especially in today's NFL where you're seeing a lot of these bigger wide receivers, taller wide receivers, I think he's be a good project too. And I mean, he could play safety if need be, but he'd be a good project to match up against those taller wide receivers because of his length.
I like it. Larry, James, you good to go? Or we heading on to the next round?
Let's see. Who else do I really like out there? Sleeper wise, who else do I like?
Who else do I? There's somebody I feel.
Man, like what y'all took some of the guys that I did like that I had for extras. I'll take one more. Jonah Ellis, the edge rusher out of Utah, brother of Caden Ellis. Again, undersized for a pass rush. I think he only stands about 6'2", plays around 240, 250 max. Small guy coming off the edge, but man, he's got a lot of kick. Hell of a sack artist. And if a team picks him up late where you just need like a speed guy coming off the edge, it's 3rd and long, you're trying to pressure the passer, don't be shocked if you see him in a lot of those like blitz packages, speed guys where you just need speed off the edge. He's a great candidate for it, man. Even at his pro day, I think he ran like the fastest 3-cone we've seen for an edge rusher, like in the past, 15, 20 years at like a 4.63 or something like that. But, a little bit of a smaller freak athletic, but Jonah Ellis, man, he could be another one.
I like it. Larry, before I move on, you got one more? Or are you feeling good? I think Larry, can you hear me, Larry? I think Larry might have froze up a little bit. We're gonna go ahead and go to the next one until we get Larry back. Let's go ahead and hit him with the fire.
Chris Jenkins out of
Go ahead, Larry. Go ahead. Chris Jenkins. I heard him say Chris Jenkins out of Michigan, and that's what we were going with, Larry.
You got it? Yeah. Chris Jenkins.
Okay, I think he went Chris Jenkins. I think
Chris Jenkins is out of Michigan. Underrated interior pass rusher. He can also stuff the run a little bit. And then Chris Abrams drains out. Can you hear me?
A little bit.
Missouri. I feel like he's a pretty good Missouri. You give him a couple years, I think he's gonna be pretty good.
Okay. I got one I'm gonna throw in, and then we're gonna do this whole. But the other one I had was, and I know he's a little bit of a household name, but I feel like in the right situation he could thrive, and that's Sam Hartman, a quarterback for Notre Dame, former guy from I was at Wake Forest, I believe. Look, it screams Garoppolo, but maybe healthy. So maybe it's the pretty guy face thing. I don't know, but I feel like if he goes to the right team in a situation where he doesn't have to start right away, but he can kind of learn and develop, he could be somebody really good down the road. So once again, we'll do it again.
He's got great hair, man.
He's got great hair.
Must be nice.
Let's go to the fire starters. All right, so we go into the fire starters. We're gonna try to be nice on the fire starters. Our first one we're doing on the fire starters, we're doing top fives of each of, well, kind of like each position here. We're gonna do top 5 quarterbacks, then we'll do top 5 offensive non-QB players, and then of course we'll do top 5 defense. We'll start off with the top 5 quarterbacks first. I'm intrigued to see where this one goes because I know a lot of people are in love with Caleb Williams, but there's some people that are not so much in love with Caleb Williams. So with that being said, We'll start off this one with you, Cody. Give me your top 5 quarterbacks heading into this year's draft.
All right, definitely one, Caleb Williams. I don't think that there's anybody necessarily close. I think if you're going to tier this draft as far as quarterbacks, Caleb is in his own tier. Second, I actually have Drake May over Jaden Daniels. Very close, so that could be like a 2A, 2B type thing. At 3, I have Jaden Daniels. 4, I do have JJ McCarthy. And at 5, I have Michael Penix Jr.
I like. So, at one point, I think a lot of people saw Penix as a guy who could be one of those tweeners. He kind of fell back a little bit here. But, I mean, and actually this, Cody, do you feel that he could be – I felt like this draft, to me, reminded me of the Lamar Jackson draft, where the 2 later quarterbacks kind of had a – and I feel like he's going to be that guy. I feel like 2 quarterbacks in this draft will thrive. The others will be here or there. But I feel like 2 – I don't know which 2 they're going to be. I just feel like there's going to be 2 of them that really thrive.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I think Michael Penix, I think one of the reasons why I know there's some rumors that maybe he could go late first, but I think he would have cemented himself as a top 10, top 15 pick if the injury history wasn't what it was. And I just think that, obviously winning cures all. If they could have possibly, won the national championship, maybe he would have solidified himself also as a top 10. Because I honestly think that's why JJ McCarthy has shot up the boards, because he won a national championship. So
I saw McCarthy in person. Me and Larry talked about this yesterday. I saw him in person against Maryland. Was not personally impressed. It wasn't a great game for them. Maryland really came out and played for him. Larry made a good point when we talked about that, but it's something about him is just like, I'm not 100%. But with that being said, James, we head to you. Give me your top 5 quarterbacks heading into this draft.
So much like Cody, number 1, I have Caleb Williams as my first quarterback. Where I start to shake it up is at number 2. I actually have Michael Penix as the number 2 quarterback in this year draft class. I know people are scared off by the medical, but look, he's had 2 clean years of football since he's transferred to the University of Washington, and he's been productive in their system and their scheme at Washington. Again, he's been able to throw the ball from the pocket, make all the throws, all the arm angles that everybody claims that they like and want to see at the next level. Now, yes, I know he's a little bit of an older guy in this class, but if you're drafting these guys with the intention of them playing late into their 30s and 40s, well, he's still got another 10 to 15 years left to produce in the NFL. So I think a lot of teams are going to pass on him and then end up regretting it. But for me, Michael Penix Jr. is my number 2 quarterback in this draft class. Third, I would have Jaden Daniels out of LSU. I have him at 3rd, reigning Heisman Trophy winner. He's got the arm, he's got the legs. His biggest thing is going to be, can he put on the weight? Can he keep some size on him to withstand the hits at the next level? If he can do that, he definitely has the potential to be special. So I have him at 3. At 4, I'm going to go with Drake May out of UNC, a little bit of a project from a quarterback perspective. Again, last season when he had Josh Downs, had a heck of an offense, had a little bit more weaponry around him. This year, he lost some of those pieces to the NFL, and he regressed a little bit. But again, I feel like if you can get him into a system where he has those weapons around him, you can kind of come in, bring him along slowly, maybe like that Patrick Mahomes approach or that Jordan Love approach. You never know. In a few years, a season or 2, you could have some on your hands. They're pretty serious. So I'd have him at 4. And then at 5, I do have J.J. McCarthy again, going to Michigan, playing at the big school, winning the national title this year. He's got some of that hype. He is able to make most of the throws that you want to see. But you got to keep in mind, he is a younger guy, a little bit more of a raw prospect. And there were times at Michigan where they just say, hey, look, kid, just turn around and hand it off because the ground game is going and we're just going to ride that out. So, you do need to keep that in mind that, there were games where they asked him to take a back seat and they still won those things comfortably at times.
That's that Garoppolo stuff. But with that being said, though, he I think he's only lost 4 games since high school, which is insane. I mean, to only lose 4 games in that time frame is pretty good, especially on that college level in high school. And I'm not 100% on that, but I saw that, and if that's true, that's crazy, and that's actually really good. The guy's not used to losing, so he also has to prep himself just in case, because the situation you more likely to go in may not be a winning situation. So it'll be interesting to see what McCarthy has at the table. Larry, we head to you. Top 5 QBs.
All right, you guys can hear me, right?
Yes, we can, sir. Loud and clear.
All right. So number one, I got Caleb Williams, obvious. Number two, I got the Heisman Trophy winner Jaden Daniels. At number three, Bo Nix is growing on me, especially with his staying the extra year, the staying the extra year, and being at Oregon, I think he's got the experience that really works in his favor a little bit. Michael Penix, I'm gonna put at 4. The only thing about Michael Penix that kind of questions me a little bit is his underneath stuff and over the middle. Now, when he's going downfield, he's pretty accurate at that. He's very great at that. But when he's going to the next level, he is going to have to go more underneath, through the middle of the field. So I would like to see some of that. And then Drake May, I saw Drake May live at UVA with UNC when Josh Downs was there. They started out shaky in the beginning, but they turned it up and they got the win in the end. So I'm gonna have to go Drake May. I feel like he's going to be very underrated in this draft.
It's intriguing. It's such a carousel, I think, at the top. Where a lot of people say, where does Washington go? Because that's where we're kind of at right now. I think everybody pretty much feels pretty good that Caleb Williams is going to Chicago. And if that's the case, then it's like, well, where do the Commanders go here? That's where it gets interesting. They came out and said today, hey, guess what? We're going to more likely take this spot. We're not trading down. So that really becomes, if that's the case, that means the Patriots could be the next potential team that could trade up or could trade back and allow somebody to come in and get that spot. So it gets really interesting around that spot where the Commanders go with that pick. Very, very intrigued. But I guess we'll all have our choices in that in the main flame. So my top 5 real quick. I got Williams number 1. I mean, despite everything everybody has said about him, the talent is there. You can't look past that. I just wish he wasn't going to Chicago. It just doesn't work well, and I'll be honest with you, if he was getting picked by the Commanders, guess what? I would say the exact same thing. And I'll be honest, I think the best situation would have been for him if somebody traded up like the Vikings or somebody in that range of team. Heck, I would even say Denver if they decided to make that leap up. I'd say the same thing, but it's just Chicago. But that's fine with me though. I'll if you can't tell. And then at number 2, I got Daniels. I like Daniels. Like Jane said, I just want to see him get a little bit more muscular. The only thing that worries me about him going to Washington potentially is, the body size, and just for whatever reason, I know people get mad when they say don't compare him to RG3, but it's hard not to at least think about it. Former Heisman Trophy winner, body size, and I don't want that for him. And I don't think Dan Quinn is going to let that get too crazy. Penix is my 3 though. I really like Penix, and I kind of agree with Larry. I just don't think he's going to get picked that high. And then I will go Drake May at number 4. And then, number 5. I guess I'm going to go with McCarthy. No. I take that back. I'm going with Bo Nix because I'm still trying to figure out why McCarthy has jumped up so high so quick. Because at one point he was like a 3rd-round pick, and then all of a sudden they're like, yo, man, what about McCarthy? And then all of a sudden he's balling. So, but look, he may prove me wrong at that level, but that's where I got right now. Next one, we're going to stay on the offensive side of things, and we're going to do the non-QB position. So, like, now we want to get those top 5 offensive players that are not quarterbacks here that you're excited about in this draft. Larry, we're going to start with you, my friend. Who are the top 5 offensive players in your mind in this draft, non-QB style?
So I got Malik Neighbors from LSU. I got Marvin Harrison Jr. from Ohio State. I got Brock Bowers from Georgia, and I got Roma Dunze from Washington, and Trey Benson from Florida State. He's one of those physical running backs, good pass game upside, good on the yak, and good speed. So those are my top 5.
I like that, Larry, because the Benson pick is so underrated because nobody's screaming running backs in this draft. It's not a big, in a lot of people's eyes, it's not a big running back draft. But he's going to more likely be 1 or 2 at the running back position that come off the board, and he's going to be a really nice piece for somebody. James, we head to you. Give me your top 5 non-quarterback offensive players.
So my list kind of similar to Larry's as well. I like Malik Neighbors as the number one wide receiver off the board. Is he smaller than the other two guys, and Odunze and Harrison? Yeah, but I think he's the most dynamic of those three. Definitely the most explosive. I think he can take it short. He can catch the deep ball. I feel like all in all, when you're looking for a number one receiver that can do it all for you on the offensive side, to me, Neighbors is that guy. I have him at number one. Behind him, I do have Marvin Harrison Jr. Again, he's not as explosive, but he is dynamic with the ball in his hands. Again, having that 6'3" frame, he'll be a red zone threat for sure for some of those fade balls into the end zone. So I have him at 2. At 3, I also do have Brock Bowers coming out of Georgia. Bowers was dynamic for Georgia when he was healthy, whether he was, chip blocking on the line, spreading out in the slot, possibly even line him up wide, or just catching balls off the line as a tight end. You could possibly even flex him as a fullback in the backfield, have him run some routes from out there, man. I mean, I feel like he's a dynamic threat for any offense that's going to pick him up. And, if he goes to one of these teams where you have one of these offensive minds that gets, a little gimmicky, you could have yourself a heck of a weapon. And Brock Bowers out of Georgia at 3. At 4, I have to go Rome Odunze out of Washington again. He's another one of those guys. He's not as dynamic. He's not as fast, but he plays fast with the ball in his hand. Again, taller receiver, about 6'3", red zone threat for a lot of those fade passes into the end zone. So I have Odunze at 4. And then for 5, I really do like Keon Coleman out of Florida State.
He's an
athletic
God!
freak, I like Keon Coleman at 6'4", 200 plus pounds. I know he didn't run a fast 40. I know he didn't run. He ran 4.61 or something like that.
Right.
But when it came to the drills that actually track and translate, when he ran the gauntlet drill, if you watch the combine, oh my goodness, that man, I think he clocked 20-something miles an hour in the gauntlet drill, where he's actually catching passes and making football plays and moves. Keon Coleman, man, he could be a sleeper pick in the first or early second that could really help somebody's off. If he goes to the Chiefs,
right.
That's all I'm saying.
Look at Larry said, "Oh no, please God, no."
Goes to the Chiefs. That's all I'm saying.
His size is crazy, man.
To be able to move at those speeds, at that size, and the catch radius, all Keon Coleman, man. I'm trying to tell you,
it's so crazy.
He's gonna make somebody happy.
Me and Cody made the same face at the same time.
Man,
y'all couldn't see us, but we made the face at the same time.
Last year, Lamont sniped me on defensive sleepers, and now this year, James sniped me on the. Come on, man.
Okay, I should have let you go first, Cody. Hey, look,
it's all good, man.
His expression was like, "I cannot believe this is happening again," because he's in mines. I'll just throw that as a early thing, but he's definitely in mines. Wow, that's crazy. All right, Cody. Well, here's your top 5 players. Offensive non-QB. Here we go.
I got Marvin Harrison Jr. at number 1. I mean, I know it's easy to say he reminds me of his dad, Marvin Harrison, but honestly, I'm getting Larry Fitzgerald vibes from Marvin Harrison Jr. So whichever team he goes to, if he can play like Larry Fitzgerald, they're going to get an absolute monster. At 2, I have Malik Neighbors. At 3, Rome Odunze. And honestly, I think like I said in the quarterbacks with May and Daniels, 2A, 2B. I think the same with Malik Neighbors and Rome Odunze. I think they're 2A, 2B. Interchangeable, in my opinion. They're both really good. At 4, I have Brock Bowers. And then at 5, I do have Keon Coleman. And James said, word for word, what I was going to say about Keon Coleman as far as, if he goes, late first and he were to end up with a team like the Chiefs, that's going to be absolutely insane, man. The Chiefs getting a guy like this, because like James said, the reason Keon Coleman basically is projected to be late first or, maybe early to mid second is because he ran a slower 40 than what a lot of people expected. Had he ran a normal 40, a 4.45, 4.5, my man's top 15 pick, no doubt about it, man. He's just that good. His physical traits are there. He's a monster. I just think that while his pockets, as far as money, the 40 time hurt him, I think he's going to fall into a better situation, which is going to, in 3 to 4 years, pay him because he's going to be with a great quarterback.
Okay, there we go. I thought it was Lamar. I think he might end up in Baltimore. In my mock drafts, that's where
That's
I keep
another solid
I keep seeing
location.
him. You know, you lose OBJ, Lamar coming off an MVP season. You want to keep that thing going. Zay Flowers had a great year last year. So Coleman's definitely in my top 5. Man, I felt your pain on that one, Cody. But I got Harrison Jr., which, you know, a lot of people kept saying he's my number 1, but everybody kept saying, oh, well, you know, Harrison, you know, everybody's passing them. Like, I don't know if I can say that. I mean, the talent is there. The pedigree is there. I got Neighbors at number 2 because, you know, LSU just produces great wide receivers. I almost want to throw Brian Thompson Jr. in there too because it's just so much when it comes to LSU and wide receivers. And even Ohio State, the same thing. They've been killing it on the receiver front. So I got Harrison, Neighbors, Coleman. They're not in that order, but Coleman. And then I'm gonna give Joe Alt some love. I think, you know, he could be a guy that will really help wherever he ends up going. You know, he's got that NFL pedigree. His dad was a great player for the Chiefs back in the day. And, you know, recently, players that have, you know, that come down on that pedigree, even if they're not superstar players, they've had really solid careers. I can say they're coming from John Runyon, who was at the Packers, who's now a Giant. Not thrilled about that, but I'm happy for you because he's a good player and he's going to be a solid guy on your offensive line. I still can't believe that. But I feel like he'll be a really good piece there. And then I got to go with Brock Bryers. I mean, you know, he could be a generational tight end. I think he goes to the Jets. If you're the Jets, I think you grab him. I think you got to grab him, give, you know, Aaron Rodgers that tight end along with, you know, with Wilson and incorporate it. I don't see where anything goes wrong. So those are my top 5 non-offensive players. Yeah. Now let's head to the defensive side. Now on the defensive front, this should be fun. I'm very intrigued to see how the defensive players run out. It's a lot of good players. Seems like a very heavy defensive line draft, in my opinion. But, you know, I've been wrong before. But I can't wait to hear what you guys have to say on that. And so, James, I'll start with you. Give me your top 5 defensive players that you have in this draft.
So for me, top 5 on the defensive side of the ball, I'd start with number 1, Quinyon Mitchell, a cornerback out of Toledo. Again, he's a cornerback where he's about sounds. He's able to play both man and zone coverage. I believe he'll translate well to the next level. In my opinion, he should be the first defensive player off the board. I just value him that much as a defensive prospect, but then especially in this class of defenders, Quinyon Mitchell is my number 1 guy that I have this year in the draft. Number 2, and a close number 2 at that, is going to be actually Terrion Arnold, the cornerback out of Alabama. Again, a little bit of a different flavor of cornerback. He's a little taller at 6'3", still over 200 pounds. He's not as fast as Mitchell is, but if you need somebody to play press man coverage, Arnold's your guy. So if you run more of a man press defensive scheme, Arnold's going to be your guy. If you're looking for somebody to do a little bit more both, I think Mitchell's going to be the guy to play for you there. Once the 2 corners off the board, I think now is where we start to see a lot of more of the defensive linemen. And for me personally, the number 1 edge in this class is Laiatu Latu, the edge rusher out of UCLA. I know people, again, are worried about his medical with him having the neck issue back at Washington. But again, he's had 2 solid seasons of play at UCLA where he has not been injured. He has 23.5 sacks over the past 2 seasons. You're drafting him to get to the quarterback. He's demonstrated it in college. I believe he'll demonstrate it again in the pros. Laiatu Latu is my 3rd defensive player in the top 5. Number 4, I'm going to go with Dallas Turner. I know he's the athletic freak of this class on the defensive lineman that everyone likes. Again, at the combine, he lit it up running like a 4.5 40. Jumped off the charts with his vertical and broad jump. He's an athletic freak. But again, even at Alabama, he had 10 sacks this past season. Season before that, just 4 sacks. And that was a year where he had Will Anderson on the other side, and he only had 4 sacks worth of production. And again, a little bit of a smaller guy at 6'3", about 240, 250. Will he be able to hold up in the run? I don't know. He's a little bit of a project. We'll have to wait and see. So he's my 4th guy on the board. And then 5th, I actually like Byron Murphy, the tackle out of Texas. Defensive tackle, again, a smaller guy, a little bit more of that kind of Aaron Donald mold, at least as far as like stature wise. He's a smaller, more compact defensive tackle, but he's definitely a disruptor on the inside, and so he'd be my 5th prospect on the defensive side.
I like it. I like it. Cody, I'm gonna go to you next. I'm sorry,
Yeah.
man. Hey, you going first? Man.
I wanted Cody to go first because I was like, I feel like I'm gonna get him, but I was gonna tell you let Cody go first.
Good. It's all, I mean, no. What James said though, like, I mean, I have. Well, I'll just say what I have. All right. So actually, for me, I think the top defensive player in this draft is actually Jared Verse out of Florida State edge. 18 sacks over the last 2 seasons, 29 and a half tackles for loss. I don't know. He just has that build of a true DN/edge, and I think that he's going to be able to do really well in the NFL. At 2, I have Kenyon Mitchell, the cornerback out of Toledo. 3, I have Latu. I think that's how you pronounce it. Edge out of UCLA, as James was saying. I think that, seeing a lot of mocks, I've seen him go, probably like late teens, early 20s. And to be honest with you, if this wasn't such a quarterback/wide receiver draft, he could very well be a top 10 pick. But he's just going to get pushed back because of that. At 4, I have Dallas Turner. And then at 5, I have Terrion Arnold, the cornerback out of Alabama.
I like it. I like it. I'm proud of James. James, you really worked on the pronunciation a lot too. He's been working hard at it.
Yeah. I mean, that's because I like to see him in a few different places. I got some things in mind, so I've been practicing. Latu.
Larry, we head to you, man. Give us your top 5 defensive players in this draft.
All right, so my top 5 are similar to y'all's. I got Terrion Arnold first. His maturity is what gets me, and I love cornerbacks, but his maturity, his ball skills is what gets me. Number 2, I have Latu. I see some mocks have him going to Denver. I wouldn't mind getting him, but because we need a little bit of everything. But the injury concerns me as well. I got Quinion Mitchell at 3. Dallas Turner at 4, and since they play the same position, I'm going to give 2 for my 5. Byron Murphy out of Texas and Jerson Newton out of Illinois. Both of them have the concerns with the size, but I think that they'd be just fine.
I like it. I will say this about Jared Verse. Last year at the ACC Media Day, got a chance to converse with him. Got a great head on his shoulders. And there's something about the way that a lot of mocks and have got him. They got him kind of tailing going into the 20s. And I'm gonna tell you right now, if he goes into the 20s with some of the teams that are in the 20s, he's gonna make somebody really happy. Like he could be the early favorite for defensive player of the year next year, or at least defensive rookie of the year next year, right off the bat, depending on where he goes. I just, if he goes somewhere like the Rams, if he goes, to Dallas, any of those places that are hungry for defensive prowess, I would even say Tampa Bay, because hey, Tampa Bay's got a defensive-minded head coach. San Francisco, God forbid, if he goes anywhere underneath that Pittsburgh, if he goes to Pittsburgh, any of those places, it's going to be very dangerous for people out there. So I'll just give you mine. I got Verse, Turner, I like Arnold, and then I got Cooper DeJean, who I'm really hoping that the gods will let him go there. And that's all I'm asking for. And then I think my last one, I guess I gotta go with Latu. Everybody else is going with Latu. So I'm gonna go ahead and toss him in there in the mix too. But I'm a big Jared Verse guy, so I kind of agree with Cody on that end. I really like him, and I throw an extra one. Chop Robinson is another guy. People, is going to be special, I think, at that next level, man. I'm excited, man. It's a really good draft we got going on here.
What's crazy though? Like if you sit back and look at Florida State and their DN/edge. I don't know why, but it seems like before, maybe a month or 2 out of the draft, you've had Brian Burns, you've had Jermaine Johnson, and you've had Jared Verse. All have been projected possible top 10 picks. And then as the process plays out, for some reason, they fall. I think Burns went like 16 overall. Jermaine Johnson went like in the 20s, and the same going with Jared Verse. So I don't know what it is, but somebody's going to get a steal if Verse falls in that 19 to 20ish range.
It's crazy that it keeps happening like that. And I don't know, maybe it's the ACC thing. That's why Florida State want to get out so bad. Who knows? But it is something where you see them kind of tail towards the end. Before we move to the main flame, is there well, we'll wait. We'll go to the main flame because we're going to go to main flame. We got our top 10 mocks from each person coming up next. Let's go ahead and get into it. Let's hit the main flame. Main flame. We are here for our top 10 NFL mocks. So this is a top 10 picks of this draft. Sorry, y'all. I know you might want the whole thing, but we're going to do top 10. We got to keep some time constraints here, but we're going to do our top 10 heading into this draft, and we'll get the opinions of each of our panelists here, and we'll start with Cody first. We're going to start with Cody first. Cody, give us your top 10 mock.
All right, here's my top 10. And this is what I think they're going to do, not what I would do if I was the team. So at 1, Chicago, I have them taking Caleb Williams, quarterback out of USC. At 2, I have Washington going Jaden Daniels, quarterback LSU. 3, I have New England taking Drake May, quarterback from UNC. 4, I have Arizona taking Marvin Harrison Jr., wide receiver out of Ohio State. At 5, I have the Chargers taking Malik Neighbors, wide receiver out of LSU. At 6, I have the Giants taking J.J. McCarthy, quarterback out of Michigan. At 7, I have Tennessee taking Joe Alt, offensive tackle out of Notre Dame. At 8, I have Atlanta taking Dallas Turner, edge out of Alabama. At 9, I have Chicago getting Caleb Williams, yet another weapon, and having them taking Rome Odunze, wide receiver out of Washington. And at 10, as you said a little earlier, Dio, I have the Jets taking Brock Bowers, tight end out of Georgia.
I pray to the Lord right now that the Chicago Bears do not do that. I don't need any more problems in that division. Caleb Williams is enough of it. If they go get that and they got out and they got, DJ Moore and then they got Keenan out, I don't need any of that. We got to figure out the cornerback position. So, no, I'm praying that you are wrong there. Now, I did see your face grimace a little bit when you picked that spot there for the Giants. So what's wrong?
We don't have to talk about it.
We'll have to talk about it. All right, we'll let it fly.
Yeah.
Next, let's go to Larry. Larry, give us your top 10 mock.
I'll say, okay, so number 1, I got Caleb Williams going to the Bears. I got Jaden Daniels going to the Commanders at number 2. Drake May going into the Patriots at number 3. I got Marvin Harrison Jr. going to the Cardinals at 4. Malik Neighbors going to the Chargers at 5. I got Brock Bowers going to the Giants at 6. They can go in so many different directions. And they lost who was their tight end? I'm blanking on his name right now. You know who I'm talking about. But their number 1 tight end option is gone now, and they need one. So I feel like if he goes there, he's going to be a top target. Joe Alt with the Titans. I feel like the Falcons will make a trade with the Vikings, so the Vikings can select J.J. McCarthy. Roma Dunze, I feel, will go to the Bears, and then Olu Fashanu going to the Jets at number 10.
I like it. Onu Fashanu. I know. Where's Lamont when you need him? James, we're heading to you next, brother. Give us your top 10 mock.
So, the way I look at it, the way I see it, this is what I think most teams either should. I'll get some insight on what teams probably should do or what they're most likely to do. 1, everybody knows Caleb Williams going number 1 to the Bears. It's a done deal. Word on the street. He's already got a condo picked out. He's good to go. At 2, I think Washington will go with Jaden Daniels. Again, I feel like he probably fits more of what Cliff Kingsbury wants to do on offense of the quarterback prospects left. So I think Washington takes Daniels at 2. 3 is where I think the draft starts to get interesting because the New England Patriots on the clock, and their roster is bereft of talent, I believe is the word. They could use almost a little bit of anything. And so I think they're a prime candidate to trade down if a team is really hungry to come up for a quarterback. If they stay put, I do think they'll probably end up going with a quarterback like a Drake May. But if they want to spice it up a little bit, maybe they go Marvin Harrison Jr., add an offensive weapon that, Jacoby Brissett can actually use, and maybe look to draft a quarterback a little later. So you never know. New England has some options there. I'm going to take them going with May now, though, for this sake of this top 10. At 4, Arizona, pretty simple. It's going to be Marvin Harrison Jr. for them. They're going to look to get Kyler Murray another weapon. They're investing a little bit more time into him. So they're going to give him more weapons on offense. They let Hollywood Brown go. Marvin Harrison Jr. to the Arizona Cardinals. At 5, the Los Angeles Chargers. I think another team that would like to trade down if they could. If they're standing pat, I think they look to get Justin Herbert another weapon. And this could be the earliest we see Brock Bowers go. Or they could do what I think they're going to do, take Malik Neighbors, wide receiver out of LSU. At 6, the Giants, with Neighbors off the board, with Harrison Jr. off the board, I think they look to shore up protection for Daniel Jones. And I could see them going with Joe Alt at possibly right tackle to help balance out with Andrew Thomas. They took Evan Neal out of Alabama a few years back, but a little rocky, a little shaky. They possibly could look to add some offensive line help with Joe Alt at number 6. Alt off the board at 6. Titans go with the next tackle, Olu Fashanu out of Penn State, to help give somebody a blindside protector for Will Levis. Getting into 8 with the Atlanta Falcons. If I'm Atlanta, I would love for them to trade out of this pick, get some more assets, trade down somewhere in the teens or maybe early 20s. If they stand pat, though, I think they should take Quinyon Mitchell if they're staying at 8. You take Mitchell, you pair him with A.J. Terrell, a guy who, you haven't extended him just yet. He's going into the last year of his deal. You pair Mitchell with Terrell. If you do extend him, you got your quarterback tandem of the future going forward. Not to mention their new defensive coordinator, Jimmy Lake, former DB coach, spent time at Washington. Jerry Gray is still there, another former DB coach and player. So I think Quinyon Mitchell could be the pick if Atlanta stays in the top 8, in the top 10. 9, the Bears, they take Rome Odunze at this point. You got Caleb, you get him a weapon. And then
what are y'all doing?
10, hey, look, you got a quarterback, man. You gotta give him weapons. I know you got Keenan Allen. Allen's on that back 9, man. He's on that back 9. You got to get somebody that's on that front 9, and that's Odunze. And if you think about it, they're kind of the same player in a sense. Taller guys, not that fast, sure-handed, can make plays in the red zone for you. If you're looking for a clone, it's Odunze. And then at 10. Well, I still got Bowers on the board, I think. So I think the Jets could go Bowers at 10. Get Aaron Rodgers at tight end to go along with
painful.
Garrett Wilson and the rest of the receivers he has left in New York.
Awesome. I'll do mine real quick. And then I got a couple questions for y'all before we go to put out the fire. I got Caleb at number 1. As much as I like to see Chicago pick Marvin Harrison Jr., because I feel like that was my feeling a couple months ago. Like before they decided to go QB, I was like, hey, you do this, you can still probably get a quarterback at 9. But the way these teams are hungry for quarterbacks, can't do that now. You got to go ahead and draft that guy. But my original plan was, hey, draft Marvin Harrison Jr. and keep Fields. That was my original plan. But obviously they had different aspirations there. So Caleb Williams goes there. I got Jaden Daniels at 2. I kind of agree with what James said. I think that Daniels is going to fit what Kingsbury can, like to do. And it's, who can be maybe my Caleb Williams in Washington, because obviously he's not going to be able to get Caleb Williams. It might be the move to go. Patriots also can kind of see them. That we heard a lot. We heard today that they're open for business, baby. Trade away if you need to. So it could happen. So I see teams like the Vikings, the Broncos, some other teams that may maybe make the leap. If they possibly can. But I got Drake May going there. I think you go QB there. I got Harrison going to Arizona. If this is Arizona, you should be smiling from ear to ear if this ends up happening. Neighbors, I got him going to the Chargers. For you, Cody, I don't know if this makes you happy or anything, but I got Romeo Odunze. I got him going there. go get the receiver. And I did like the Joe Alt pick there too, though, because I mean you could go and protect. And after everything that happened with Evan, was Evan Neal, right, last year with the whole things he was saying to the fans, they might want to run my man out of town. So it's like, look, you got to go, my guy. Then I got Tennessee picking up Joe Alt. Somebody's got to protect the mayonnaise man down there. And then Dallas Turner going to the Falcons, the edge rusher. And I got is it Fashanu? Am I saying that right? Fashanu?
Mm-hmm.
So I got Fashanu going to Chicago because you're going to need to protect Caleb Williams. Can't believe I even want that to happen. They should pick a kicker here, but that's besides the point. And then I got at number 10, I got Brock Bowers. I just think that if he's there, you get the Jets, you go for him. If not, you go offensive line. Because I think this is a draft where you can get a lot, some great offensive linemen later in the draft as well. But maybe potential a generational tight end to go there with a Hall of Fame quarterback and a great receiver and Garrett Wilson. You just can't let that go astray. Now, before we go to the main flame, I want to ask you guys what you want. Your team. Now, I know y'all have kind of sprinkled it in, but I want the official. What do you want your team to have? Larry, they've already kind of give their sentiments, but I want you to go first. Who do you want in Denver? Who should the Denver Broncos, if he's there, who do you want to be your guy? It tells everything.
I'd rather go ahead and get the quarterback. So Bo Nix seems like he could be a Sean Payton guy. He seems like he could do the things that Sean Payton wants him to do. I will go Bo Nix.
Biggest thing is he's not Russell Wilson. James. Yes. James. Who do you want in Atlanta? Who do you have to have in Atlanta if you give them that spot at number 8?
So again, for me, it's all relative. If the Falcons stay at 8, I would much rather them take Quinyon Mitchell or Terrion Arnold, whichever of those two corners they like. For me, it's going to be Mitchell, top defensive player for me. If they stay at 8, Mitchell's the pick. Go ahead and turn the card in. Now, like I said, it's all relative. Because if Malik Neighbors drops to 8, if somehow the football gods have said, you know what, Atlanta has been hit with so much bad luck, winning a Super Bowl, then losing the same Super Bowl, not being able to convert fourth downs, Matt Ryan falling apart, Julio Jones just chucking the deuces like I got to get out of here. If somehow Malik Neighbors fell to 8, there's not even a debate. Turning the card, it's Neighbors. Now, third scenario, you trade back. If you're trading back, you're picking up them extra picks that we was talking about earlier, and you go with Leatu Latu, edge rusher from UCLA, to finally fix the pass rush issue in Atlanta.
Love it. Cody, I know JJ McCarthy's not the guy you want.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
who do you want?
That's the last option.
It's the last option. Who do you
I'll
want?
pick Sebastian Janikowski at 6. Okay. No. At my first choice, though, honestly, is in a perfect world would be if like Drake May somehow fell. It's not going to happen, but if he somehow fell, I would love to take him at 6. I really think that Daboll could really turn him into something. I'm not saying he could turn him into Josh Allen, but I think that that's something that this new regime could work with. Realistically, you give me one of Harrison, Neighbors, or Odunze. Any of those 3, I'm perfectly fine with, because that's a position the Giants truly have not had since OBJ for the most part, So, I know you need a quarterback to throw to those guys, but sometimes wide receivers can make quarterbacks look a little better, right? And third scenario, sort of like James, though, like I would love for the Giants, if for some reason it happened to where Harrison and Neighbors were taken off and we did have a chance at Odunze, but there's a quarterback still on the board that a team wants to trade up for. I'd be perfectly fine with the Giants trading back with like a Minnesota if that meant we could get 11 and 23, or if Denver wants to move up and we get a first, a second round, and maybe a first next year, because the Giants have a lot of holes on this team. All right. So if you can trade back 6 or 7 spots, stay in the 11, 12, 13 range, you can still get very good players, and you have more darts to throw at the dartboard to try to get this roster where you want it to be.
Love it, love it. Real quick, my man Lawrence Johnson said, "What's up, brothers?" Look, my man Lawrence does really good stuff on UVA. So if you're a UVA fan and you want to go and you need to talk about UVA football, basketball, whatever, baseball, my man Lawrence Johnson, make sure y'all check out Seven Cities Shop Talk with my man Lawrence Johnson. Then, of course, our guy Russ Telefero says, "Did I really tune in for Mayonnaise Man?" Yes, you did, because that's exactly what it is. And Russ says his dream guy would be Joe Alt. So he kind of agrees with James there. Like Joe Alt is where Russ would love to go with that pick for the New York Football Giants. All right, so I got 3 people in mind, and I'm gonna say it and then just pray for the best. My number one is actually Cooper DeJean. I really want to be able to say we have the first quote unquote white cornerback to start since, I don't know, Jason Sehorn.
Sehorn, baby.
Yeah, back in the day. But that's not the point. That's not the point. That's the joke part. No, but for real though, the guy is a flat out stud. He runs a 4.3. He's super, super talented, and we need a guy that we can rely on at the cornerback position. Eric Stokes has not worked out in Green Bay. It just hasn't worked out in Green Bay. And unfortunately, just because of injuries. When he has played, he's played well. He just can't be on the field. And we need somebody opposite of Alexander. And he also can play in the safety. So if they decided to use him in safety initially, it could also work out because we lost 2 safeties. We lost my cousin, Jonathan Owens. I wasn't thrilled about losing my cousin. That means we also lost Simone Biles. I definitely wasn't happy about that. And then, of course, she goes to Chicago. Jesus, why? I just don't. Anyway, that's besides the point. My next choice is actually Jared Verse. Like, I don't know if he's gonna fall that far, but if he's there, we're moving to a 4-3. Thank the Lord. Finally, it only took 25 years, so we finally moved to a 4-3. I would love to see him there. I think he could really thrive there. And if not there, I would say Byron Murphy. If he's there that late, I want a defensive tackle that's going to go beside my guy Kenny Clark, or potentially be the replacement for Kenny Clark. Because if you know the Packers, when they sign a guy a couple times, then maybe that last time they don't go back to him. No matter how good you are, no matter how much of an all-pro you've been, I could see them looking at, okay, why is the guy, and then bringing another guy to be that force there. So as much as I would love to keep Kenny Clark there and let him be a Packer forever, I know how this team runs things. So that's kind of me. And I just got my eyes and my ankles and all that other stuff crossed, and we'll see what happens. Just don't do nothing stupid. That's all I ask. And please make a pick on night 1. Just don't make me wait that long and trade like you did me a couple years ago. I was hot. I was hot. But yeah, so there it is. I think that was the only main question that I had for everybody. Let's go ahead and finish this thing up. Oh, Russ says anything but McCarthy. So I know that he agrees 100% with Cody. Let's go ahead and finish this bad boy up with Put Out the Fire.
Fire, fire, burn on. Fire, 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 burn on. Fire, 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 legacy on fire.
All right, Put Out the Fire. Now, I'm going to go first because I just got a lot on my mind. And normally I don't go first. And normally I don't go at all or whatever, but I'll give y'all time to think just in case. But I'm going to go first. Pat Riley. Pat Riley, I love you like a fat kid love cake. After last night's 14-point debacle, up by 14, looking like you're going to get the 7 seed, maybe take on, or maybe get ready for another intense rivalry between the Heat and the Knicks, which I was looking forward to, win or loss, because as a child, that's my childhood memory, seeing those two teams battling out, even though they got us so many times. It made the playoffs fun for me each year when I knew we were going up against the Knicks. So you blow that opportunity. Then I hear you got Tyler Hero, if this is true, and Jimmy Butler. I hear talking trash in the locker room. Tyler Hero supposedly took a swing at him after Jimmy Butler said 9 for 27. And then when Tyler swung at him, he missed, and he said 9 for 28, which is funny, which is absolutely funny. And if that's the case, it's the funniest thing I heard all day. It pissed me off, though. I was so mad. I'm like, come on, guys, we don't need this now. But I say all that to say this, and I said it last year. This Heat team, it's time. As much as I love this team and I love the Heat culture and the way it's constructed, and Eric Spoelstra is my guy. Love him, like I said, the best coach in the NBA. Nobody can tell me different. And when it comes to development, they can't touch him. He's developed players. He makes players look good that probably shouldn't have contracts, but he makes them. He gets them paid. So kudos to him. but it's time, and it's good that some moves had to be made. They made the first one with Lowry. They finally got him out of town. Should have never been there in the first place. But there may be some changes that come. Jimmy's been nicked up here and there. Bam's, here and there. And I mean, I think he's got a good shot at being, potential defensive player of the year. I don't think he'll get it, but it's time. And I don't want them to win on Friday. That's coming from a Heat fan. Don't want it because it's time for a change. I said this last year, and then they went to the Doggone NBA Finals. So it may work one way or the other. So there's my fire, and it's been put out. James, we head to you, sir. Go ahead and put out the fire.
All right. So for my topic, I'm going to stick with the NBA as well. And my question that I'd like to pose is it time for the New Orleans Pelicans to move on from Zion Williamson? Again, I know this season he's played 70 games. He's been the healthiest he's been since he's entered the league. He posted up, 22.9 points per game this year. He got him all the way to the play-in tournament. And right on cue, he gets injured. He posts 40 points in the play-in game against the Lakers. He had them pretty much in the game the whole period. And then again, down the wire, few minutes left, right on cue, he gets injured after making a tough bucket. And it's a hamstring issue. And now he's out for their last chance to make the playoffs on Friday night. So again, Zion just can't seem to stay healthy when the Pelicans really need him. And this might be the highest his value is going forward. If you are New Orleans, do you look to move on from Zion Williamson at this point? I know he's the first overall pick when he came out, but again, he just hasn't shown you long-term sustainable success if you're that organization. And do you look to capitalize off this little blossoming we have seen to go ahead, ship him out of town, maybe move him somewhere in the Eastern Conference to a team that's hungry for a star? Maybe the Big Apple, I think he wanted to go to the Knicks in the first place. But that's just an example. But, if you're the Pelicans, do you look to move on from Zion Williamson at this point?
That's a good question. Anywhere but the Knicks. Don't do that to
would
me.
you take him in Miami?
But that's different. That's different. I mean, I'll take him in Miami, but why do I need to see him go to New York? It's a rivalry, guys.
Because New York needs a star, man. They need a star to pair with Brunson.
They do. They
need some.
We need to start to be on the floor.
Touche. That's also true.
But that's even more reason why he should be a Knick, because it's not going to work out. That's the Knicks.
That's hilarious.
Wow.
Actually, now that you say that, James, I understand completely. Look, so with that being said, though, why he posed that? If the New Orleans Pelicans decided to make that move, where could y'all see? Where could you see him going? What would you think would be a good fit for him? And yes, you can say New York if you would like.
I don't think I want him.
You don't want him?
Yeah.
I don't think I want him, man.
And I feel like that'd be the trouble that New Orleans could potentially face. It's like, what's his market honestly look like? Because again, he's hurt again.
Charlotte.
I thought Charlotte
could use it. That's a ticket seller. Him and LaMelo.
Yeah.
Tibbs not really going to help him out with all the minutes that he plays as starters. So
yeah, that's true too.
True.
Man, that's a good question, man. I truly can't think of I just keep thinking Eastern Conference, and I wanted to say the Magic, but I like what they're doing there. I think that might mess up some things. So I kind of want the Magic to kind of stay kind of where they are. I don't know, man. Maybe the Bulls look to revamp something, right? Because it obviously hasn't necessarily worked out with what they have. So I don't know. Maybe they go Chicago.
Yeah, I mean, I was gonna say Indiana, but I don't think that would work. I don't think that'll work in Indiana neither. It's really hard. You guys make a really good point. I don't know where you can send them.
And Atlanta.
Yeah, because you can take Trae Young, but then Trae Young goes back into another spot where it's a little shaky. It's
Dallas,
but they don't care about that. Dallas would be interesting. You send him to Dallas with Kyrie and Doncic. It could be. I mean, that could be something. But it's hard. I don't think he's going to go to the Lakers or nothing like that. I don't think he's ready for that. Clippers, they've got too many people. And they got too many people on that team right now. But I would maybe even a place like the Kings, maybe somewhere like Sacramento, maybe. But it's just hard because it's like he's got to go to maybe Oklahoma. No, don't mess that up. Don't mess that up. I take that back. I'm sorry. I take that back.
No, Oklahoma City. If you're the Thunder, you got to hold on them picks. You keep them picks.
No. You got 6 trillion picks, and you already got the number 1 seed in the West. There's no need to change any of that. All right. Okay. With that being said, then, Larry, let's go to you, man. Put out the fire, my friend.
NFL, is there any way that we can get the draft moved up? Because every year, as football fans, we buy your merch. You know, we had to suffer through the early February, through the March, and free agencies, just so we can do all these mock drafts and these days go by and wrecking our brains with all this stuff. Is there any way that we can possibly move the draft up maybe a week or two? Sick and tired of waiting. Sick and tired of doing all these mocks and projecting where my team and other teams of who they're picking and all this. It's wrecking my brain. It's making me crazy every freaking year. Let's move it up a year or two. I mean, let's move it up a week or two.
Nah, man, that's how they get you in, baby. That's how they keep the fix, baby. It's like all right. I probably shouldn't say this. It's like a crackhead, you know. They know you want the rock.
I got the draft for you.
They got that draft for you, baby, and they gonna keep drawing you back, or you know, like you see, like in the old school days, you know, they want the pony to come in and grab the carrot, or they want them to move forward, so they put the carrot on a stick and they move it, and the animal goes ahead trying to get the carrot on the stick. It's like, oh, I'm so close. That's what it is. They're not letting us get that, baby. As much as I would love it. I think as much as we all would love to see the draft come a little early, I don't think it's happening. Look, at least it's not pushed. Didn't they do it in May one year? And I was like, no, they can't do that no more. They did it in May one year. So
could y'all imagine, like I brought this up, or I've said this in the past before, but like, could you imagine if the NFL did an NBA style offseason where the draft is before free agency? Like, just imagine like the NFL season's over with.
Get paid.
I mean, but just think like what the season's over mid-February, right? Like, let's just say, all right, NFL draft's going to be the first or second week of March, and then free agency starts a week after that. Like, the whole dynamic would be so different.
Bro, we'd have to take 2 weeks off of work.
100%.
Yeah, I mean,
national holiday.
You can't work during that time frame. There's too much going on. You'd be like, all right, I think I gotta stay home. You know, like you're not going to be able to work during that time frame. If you have a normal 9 to 5, you might as well cancel it.
Yeah,
you're
for sure.
You're going to need those 2 weeks off. You putting PTO in? Yes, I am. I'm putting PTO in. I'm putting it in now. So yeah, but I mean, I can see you on that, Larry. It would be interesting to see him move it up, maybe a week or two. But I don't know, man. That horse and the carrot, they know we coming back for it. It's too much. It's too much.
Waiting.
Right. And it takes forever. Before we go to Cody's put out the fire, got a couple of people chiming in. We got our man Mike Patton. My man Mike Patton said the Pelicans need to find Jesus and have him bless his body with health along with the rest of the team. I love you, Mike. That's great. He said trade him to Chicago if y'all going to trade him. All right, so there's Mike saying the same thing there. Russ says, I know I could make it back in time to be on the show, but my put out the fire would have been UFC 300. And how about Max Holloway? I got Russ. Yeah, Russ was trying to get on the show tonight. He had some things going on, but you know, shout out to Russ. Shout out to Russ and Mama Russ and all that good stuff out there. Also, Mike Patton says can't trade Zion until he stops having the Z in his head and stops walking like he's constipated all the time. Hey, that's wild, Mike. Hey, that's wild. He said, I buy team gear, I ignore mocks mostly, and preserve my sanity. It's hard, man. It's a hard thing to do. Hard thing to do. Oh, man, my man D Bland, great. And first of all, shout out to Mike Patton. If you're an AFC South fan, you got to go make sure you check out his podcast, Touring the AFC South with Mike Patton. Great show, great guests every week. I've been on there once. He's been on one-on-one. Mike is amazing. Make sure you check him out. My man D Bland, he said that would be crazy though. And Jesus with the Lakers, he is king. Jesus is with the Lakers. He's King James. I love that, D. Also, make sure y'all check out the Not Bland show with my man D Bland. And of course, Rob says Roman Reigns. I don't know why he said Roman Reigns. We acknowledge him. Cody, go ahead and put out the fire, sir.
I'm going to take it to the ice, actually, hockey. NHL announced today that it's finalized that the Arizona Coyotes are going to be moving to Utah. And I mean, it's not really like a put out the fire. It's more of a like, good job, NHL. Now you're 50% of the way there with relocating them to Utah, which, I mean, when I think hockey, I would think Utah before I think Arizona. So now I need them to go the other 50%. And let's just do a full-blown rebrand on the Coyotes. Let's change the name. Let's change the uniforms. Let's just a full-blown rebrand of this team that's now moving to Utah. I think it's great for the NHL, but I mean, even the fans in Utah saw something where like 6,000 season tickets have already been sold after the news of them moving to Utah. So let's just go ahead and give that city basically a brand new team, a brand new identity. Let's change the name from Coyotes to something else. Let's change the jersey colors. Let's just make this a brand new franchise for the NHL.
I will say this about the Coyotes. I've always loved their jerseys. But I understand exactly why you said they had some of the coolest jerseys in the league, but Arizona just wasn't a hot spot for them. I did see some fans earlier that are heartbroken. One lady said it's the first date I ever went with my husband.
Oh, wow.
It was the first one they went on. Then they took their girls to the game, so they're going to miss out on it. But it was hard for them to get the real support. And when you think Arizona, it's hard to think hockey. It's hot out
For
there.
sure.
Because I've been to Arizona before, and I mean, when I went out to a Diamondbacks game, and it was smoking out there, and then you may think about, let me go to this hockey game so I can get in the cold, maybe, but it just never was. But Utah does feel like a good spot for it, and I did see on the internet earlier somebody say people are funny. She said the Salt Lake City Fighting Mormons.
Oh gosh!
Like I said, that's just what I saw on the internet. I thought that was a funny one. But it should be interesting to see kind of where they go and if they decide to rebrand there in Salt Lake City. Man, look at that. Salt Lake City getting a new a professional team. Shout out to Salt Lake City. All right, everybody, that is it. That is episode 66 of Legacy on Fire, the draft edition. I'd like to thank of course, James Brown, as always, Larry Patterson of the Gametime Sports Network, my man Cody Stewart, draft guru. I can go on and on with the accolades of my man here. So draft expert, glad to have you all on. Before we go, James, anything you want to say?
Hey, appreciate it for another week. Shout out to Cody, shout out to Larry for coming and joining us. Hopefully we get you guys back maybe even after the draft to recap. Maybe we do a big show or podcast for that. To everybody out there listening, watching, tuning in, appreciate it. Thank you. And always be sure to like, comment, share, subscribe. Check out all the great stuff we got here at the Legacy Maker Sports Network.
Cody, anything you want to say before we go, brother?
And just appreciate you having me on, man. Of course, I love talking NFL, love talking draft, love talking with y'all boys. So truly appreciate that. And Giants, don't draft JJ McCarthy. And that's it.
That's all I ask for. If you don't do anything else, just don't do that. Larry, anything you want to say before we go, brother?
It's always an honor and pleasure you bringing me on. I'm with Cody, man. Sean Payton, please make the right pick. That's it. We're desperate for a quarterback. I'm hungry for one. You can follow me on Gametime Sports Network on YouTube and Facebook, and on Instagram at Gametime 365 Sports. Go Broncos.
Go Broncos. Yeah, most definitely. Look, once again, fellas, it's been an honor. James, I like that idea about that recap after the draft. We're not gonna be on here next week, because we all know what we're going to be doing next week. So as much as I love putting out the fire, then I'm going to be putting out fire watching ESPN. Ding, 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 ding. So that's where we're going to be at next week. And then we'll be back the following week, of course, to recap the draft and what we think about that. Once again, everybody, for James Brown, Larry Patterson, Cody Stewart, I am Darrell Owens. Thank you all for tuning in. Make sure you check out all of these great minds in the sports world. Make sure you check out the Legacy Maker Sports Network and all the shows that we got going on there. Until next time, peace.